Welcome to Picks and Parlays here on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network. Also streaming live on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube as well. We hope you'll tune in. We're on Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Nick Geber, Nickgeber. We're also live on iHeartRadio and TuneIn Radio for your edification and your listening enjoyment. Got a big show today, this Thursday, February the 6th, 2020. This is National Lame Duck Day. Not quite sure how you celebrate that. Maybe with duck à l'orange? Maybe? We're going to cover a lot of sports today. We're going to start with our good friend Al Ninos, do some Premier League football for you. 3 matches we've chosen from on what is a reduced Premier League schedule this weekend. We'll talk about that after the break. Then we're going to get right into some college basketball with Alex, Smarty Pants Smart, and we're going to top it off with some NBA with the Duff Man himself, Joe Duffy, 76ers Bucks, Rockets Lakers, Spurs Blazers, and those crazy Pelicans against those wacky Bulls. That's what we're covering today. And by the way, if you're wondering what we're going to talk about on the college basketball section, I'll tell you. Colorado, the Bearcats against the Shockers, the Trojans, Wildcats, and my beloved Bruins against the Arizona State Wildcats. Look, we're going to give a lot of free picks for you today on the show, but when you're ready for those expert picks, they are there awaiting for you on our website, picksandparlays.net. Don't be a knob. Help yourself to all those expert picks you want and enjoy 15% off. Use promo code HOOP15. That's HOOP15. You can get all of our expert picks at that wonderful discount. So when you're ready to make your bets on your favorite sport, you're going to do so locked and loaded with the best sports information you can possibly get. All right, this is how the show works. I talk, we have expert handicappers on, we have a lot of fun, but I'd also love to hear from you. All you have to do is fill out the comment section on any one of our social media platforms, and we will see it here in the studio, and our intrepid production team will put it up on the screen, and I will do my best to bring you into the show. Even if your comment is rude, even if your comment is really rude, I'll put it up there. We'll talk about it. All right, I'm going to take a quick break and be right back to kick it off with Al Ninos. Welcome back, Picks and Parlays, Sports Byline Broadcast Network, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We're everywhere you want to be. But most importantly, we're talking sports. Right now, free picks, expert picks. We got them all for you. Let's talk some English Premier League football. Bring in my good friend Al Ninos. Al, how are you today?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. Al, I love this new background you're using. By the way, if you're listening to us on the radio and not watching us, you're missing, half of that sensory enjoyment that you get by seeing such handsome people deliver such incredibly detailed sporting information for you. But Al, yeah, you're looking good. It's kind of like a police lineup thing, but all I can say is you did it. Okay, let's move along, shall we? We're talking Premier League football. Now, this is a reduced schedule this week and for the next 10 days, because what's happening is the first time ever, really, they're having a winter break in the Premier League. And they're doing this not by just stopping play for 2 weeks. They're being very smart. They're like they should be. They're basically staggering it. So they're playing a reduced schedule. So some teams will get this 2 weeks off, and other teams will get the next 2 weeks off. Everyone's going to get 2 weeks off. So we only have 4 matches for you in the Premier League this weekend as opposed to the usual 10 matches. But there's some pretty good ones, Al. We've picked 3 of them. Which one do you want to start with, Al? You tell me and we'll roll with it.
I got Everton Crystal Palace up first on my list. So
all right, well, let's start, shall we? This is at Goodison Park. Everton 9th in the table. Palace 14th right now. Everton hoping to extend a 4-game unbeaten run. A win here would have them in the top 7, by the way. So that's a big step for them. On form, I don't know if you knew this, Al, only Liverpool, who have 30 points in the last 10 games, of course, which is perfect. But the next team on form in the last 10 games actually is Everton. They've taken 19 out of 30 points They're on fire. And Crystal Palace, though, they haven't won a game since Boxing Day. They're winless in the last 6. They lost the last 2 in a row against Sheffield United and Southampton. Look, they're a Roy Hodgson team, so they're not going to play, they're not going to really go out on a limb for you, but they should be more solid than they have been. 4 of Palace's 5 wins in the Premier League, though, have come against Everton at Goodison Park, which is shocking. And here's another stat for you, Al. Crystal Palace, the oldest team in the Premier League, 29 years and 230 days average age. How do you see this one? What's your pick?
Yeah, well, Everton's definitely the better team, but I don't know. You said they've been in the second best form. That's a surprise to me. I mean, they have a couple wins. I see a couple draws and a loss lately. And I think Crystal Palace, I think they can keep it close here. And I didn't see much value if you're trying to pick Everton. So where I see the most value is on the draw here at plus 276.
Oh, Al.
Otherwise, you can
Al, great minds, Al. Great minds think alike. I'm with you. I think that's a great pick, by the way, but I'm going to take it a step further, Al. I'm just going to go one step beyond, as Madness used to say. Look, I'm in 2 minds. Obviously, Everton should win this game, right? I mean, they're by far the better team. They're in much better form. But Crystal Palace have a lot of really good players on them. They've got a really decent manager in Roy Hodgson. They've been all over the place. They haven't won since Boxing Day. I just feel that they are ripe for an upset here. And if I were going to speculate on just a little, I wouldn't put, a big percentage of my bankroll on it. But at plus 420, wow, this could be the upset of the weekend, Al. You're thinking draw. I'm thinking, how about Crystal Palace win this thing at Goodison Park?
Definitely a possibility here. Wouldn't be shocked if they do. I mean, as I said, I was more surprised when you told me that Everton was the second best form in the league right now. I mean, I just don't see it. And I wouldn't be surprised at all, as you said, if Palace pulls the upset off. But again, I like my draw here at plus 276. Not pushing
also a good pick as well.
Much.
All right, let's move along, shall we? Brighton versus Watford. This is at the Amex. Now, Brighton won the reverse fixture 3-0 at Vicarage Road. Earlier on in the season, I think this was like one of the first games of the season back in August. You've got 2 of the bottom 6 teams here going head-to-head. Brighton are looking for their first win in the new year. They've been winless in the last 5, although they did get a nice 3-3 draw against West Ham at the London Stadium last time out. It's all got a bit pear-shaped for them, really, quite frankly, since November when they were, I think, up at the 8th or 9th place in the table. But the season is long. When you have teams that don't have a lot of depth, it really squeezes the teams with small squads, squeezes them hard, and Brighton certainly are one of those. Watford, on the other hand, Alf, you remember I gave the Das Boot analogy, right? How they were at the bottom of the ocean and they were rising. Well, I don't know, they must have sprung another leak because, they've had no wins in the last 3, a couple of really surprising losses for them. But here's another stat for you, Al. Only Mohamed Salah and Sergio Aguero have scored more goals than Troy Deeney has on Watford since Nigel Pearson took the helm for Watford. The problem Watford have had, quite frankly, is they like to concede late goals, and it's been a big problem for them. But you know what? Brighton aren't really prolific goal scorers. Watford plus 287 away. But Al, I'm going to take your take. I like the draw plus 239. What do you like?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this one, too. It's a game, I don't know, 2 teams really struggling lately. And I don't know, it's a pretty ugly matchup considering their current forms. You said Watford went on a little run, but yeah, not so much anymore. Brighton had some good games, too, and not that many lately. So I see the value again on the draw here. Yep, I see it plus 245.
All right, we're in agreement. Let's see where we fall on this next one. The Blades of Sheffield United against Bournemouth. The reverse fixture was opening day, 1-1. They drew. That must have been away at Bournemouth. Look, at home at Bramall Lane, the thing about the Blades is they beat the teams they should beat, and they sort of lose to the teams they should lose. I mean, if you look at their losses, it's like Man City, it's Liverpool, it's Leicester City. I mean, it's, the team, Tottenham, it's the teams that have been above them in the table. If Sheffield United win, they'll have 39 points. That's more than they got the entire time they were in the Premier League last time, which was 2006, 2007. So, they're really having a wonderful season. Bournemouth, on the other hand, they've won 2 in a row, which was shockers. They were both home games against Villa and Brighton. They're only 3-1-8 away from home, though. The key man is Harry Wilson. He has scored 5 of their 10 away goals. So clearly, Sheffield United are going to want to shut down Mr. Wilson. But Al, at minus 123, I'd be stupid not to take Sheffield United at home here.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, this one, I definitely can't see myself taking the draw in this one. They drew last time, as you mentioned. I don't see that happening again. Sheffield's been playing great, and I think they've been one of the biggest surprises in the Premier League this season. And yeah, I like them here. And yeah, minus 123. I had it a bit steeper than that, but if you if you have it at minus 120, I see it at minus 135. But either way, I'd take it.
That means it's widening. I think 123
Sheffield
was the opening line. So
it may have been.
Yeah. Well, it's a good one to take. Al, did you place any FA Cup bets this weekend? During this week, because of course the Liverpool under 23 squad came through and had a wonderful FA Cup win when the senior team was on vacation. I didn't see what the odds on that one were. Did you have a chance to look at that one?
No, I didn't take too good a look this week. No, we had a good look at it last week when the Premier League was off, but didn't pay much attention this week.
All right. Well, we do have next week. We'll give you more Premier League picks. Of course, once this winter break is over, we'll be back to business as usual. But I love the way they've done this winter break. I mean, they haven't shut the league down. They're keeping the league going, but they've just sort of done a reduced schedule. And I think certainly the way the TV rights are around the world gives you a chance to maybe see some of the other teams that you maybe wouldn't watch on a regular Premier League weekend.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, I don't know, plenty of other sports to watch, and I do like the Premier League. I do try to catch some games when I can. Obviously, we're on a different schedule here. But yeah, it's definitely great soccer either way, but at least we still got our Premier League going.
All right, Al Ninos, always a pleasure. You can find Al at picksandparlays.net. You should see him there along with his expert picks. Why don't you pick him up? We'll give you 15% off. Use promo code HOOP15, HOOP15. And if you want to talk more Premier League soccer or soccer in general, I'm on the air every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, live on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network, also live on Dan Patrick Sports, Sirius XM 211, and the Sirius XM app. So be sure to tune in and let's talk some beautiful game. All right, I'll be right back with some college basketball. All right, welcome back to the show. Picks and Parlays. Nick Geber with you on this National Lame Duck Day. I'm not a duck, neither am I lame, but it's a day for somebody. I'm not sure who. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Geber, NickGeber. Love to hear from you. Why don't you follow along? We like to talk sports all times of the day and night because basically I have no life. That's what happens. All right, well, speaking of no life, well, let's talk to our good friend Alex Smarty Pants Smart because we're going to talk some college basketball. Smarty Pants, how are you today?
Good, G. How's everything?
Well, another day, another dollar, another sports betting win. You know how it is. Let's talk some college basketball, shall we?
Sure.
And I'll tell you what we're going to do because we got an an AAC and we've got 3 Pac-12. So why don't we take care of Cincinnati first, shall we? Let's do the Bearcats at Wichita State. The Bearcats are 14-7, 9-12 against the spread. They're 7-3 in the last 10. They're on a 4-game winning streak. They got wins against East Carolina, Temple, SMU, and Houston. They're 2-4 straight up and against the spread on the road. They're 7-2 in conference. Their totals have gone under in 5 of the last 7, and they're playing the Wichita State Shockers, 17-4, 10-11 against the spread. They're 7-3 in the last 10, although 3-point loss to Tulsa snapped a nice 2-game winner they were on. They're 12-1 straight up and 6-7 against the spread at home, which is really nice. But they are only 5-3 in conference. They've totals gone over in 4 of the last 5. Under in 4 of the last 5. You've got both of these teams have been under heavily in the last 5 or 7 games. Totals 134. Shockers are 3.5-point home favorites. Where are we going on this one, Smarty Pants?
Well, I'll just quickly say when this season first started, I thought Cincinnati would have Wichita State's record, and it would be switched around the other day. The other way, 14-7 or 17-4.
Yeah.
And here we are going up against each other here, and my power ranking suggests Cincinnati is the better team. They've won 6 of their last 7 games, while Wichita, despite their great record, has lost 3 of their last 5 on a downtrend. We've got a bonus catching points here on the road, 3.5 points with Cincinnati.
Okay. So we're going to take the Bearcats at plus 3.5, right?
We're going to take Bearcats plus 3.5, exactly.
I like it. That's What about? Could this be a major upset? I mean, should we sprinkle some money line goodness here and try to get the big payday?
You know what? I just say increase your wager. Just increase your wager. Why not go money line? We're getting 3.5 points here, and where's the value? Double up on that wager. Why not?
Well, what is the money line? What is the money line on the Bearcats if we wanted to take it? Do you know?
Bearcats money line right now is sitting. No, I don't see it.
Okay, it must be that big. Too many zeros.
Yeah.
It could be that big. They're a good team.
160, maybe 175.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Sorry.
But the advice there is to just bet more. Don't bet money line. Bet more on the points.
Bet more. Bet more. You're getting 3.5 points. Bet more. You want to sprinkle a little bit of money. Sprinkle it just on that. Yeah.
All right. I like it. All right. Let's move. Pac-12. Golden Bears versus the Colorado Buffaloes. Golden Bears 10-11, 9-12 against the spread. That's Cal, of course. 4-6 in the last 10, coming off a 2-point win against Oregon State. They're 0-5 straight up and against the spread on the road, which allow me to use my in-depth analytical mind and tell you sucks. Okay, they're 4-4 in conference. They're 5-2 against the spread in the last 7 games. The Buffaloes, good record though, 17-5, 11-10-1 against the spread. They're 7-3 in the last 10, coming off a 78-57 win over the Lori Loughlins of USC. Happy to see that, as always. 10-2 straight up at home and 6-5-1 against the spread. And they are 7-3 in conference. Of course, it's the Pac-12. The total's gone over in 8 of the last 12 for them. And they are huge favorites here. 17-point home favorites. Total 127.5. You're not laying the points on Colorado here, right?
You know what? You got to be tempted sometimes, but sometimes there's just too much recency bias involved, and the line, in my opinion, is 1 possession off, and it might sound like just scraping against dimes type thing, but I'm saying take that dime and let's take the 1 possession and go with the plus 17 on California. A grinding California team, by the way.
I'm sorry, what was that?
They're a grinding team. California just tries to grind into the ground, put you to sleep. So, 17 points is not that bad of in my opinion.
I like it. All right, let's talk about the spoilt brats. The USC Lori Loughlins at the Arizona Wildcats. Another Pac-12 matchup here. The Lori Loughlins are 17-5, 12-10 against the spread. They're 7-3 in the last 10, coming off a 57-78 loss to Colorado. They're 5-2 straight up, 6-1 against the spread on the road, 6-3 in conference. Total's gone under in 8 of the last 11. You see, when you can't pay people off and bribe them, you actually have to play fair games. They don't do very well. The Wildcats, 15-6, 12-9 against the spread. They're 5-5 in the last 10 on a 2-game win streak, though. They beat both Washington and Washington State on the road, no less. They're 10-1 straight up at home, the Wildcats. 9-2 against the spread at home, 5-3 in conference. Chase Jeter is upgraded to probable, so he'll be able to play. They've gone under in 4 of the last 6 against USC. I won't even use their name, but much prefer the Michigan State. Better name. Okay. That's the Spartans, because they beat the Trojans, didn't they? Arizona, minus 10, 10-point home favorites, 139.5 total. What do you think?
I'm thinking line's too big again. Maybe 1 possession off. Not maybe, but in my books, it's 1 possession off. USC is probably one of the most underrated teams in the country. We've been saying it for 5 or 6 seasons. Yes, they're not a championship quality team, but they're very underrated. Got to have some respect for them here, no matter what. 8-2 ATS in their last 10 games. playing against an above 500 team. So, they're gonna come out here and they're gonna be tough.
Why don't you make a little money off? Yeah, take a little money off of USC if you can. Usually it's the other way around. All right, okay. You're going to take SC plus 10. All right, finally, the greatest team ever in the history of college basketball, probably the greatest team ever devised by mankind. The UCLA Bruins will face the lackluster Arizona State Sun Devils. The Bruins 12-10, 11-11 against the spread. It's all part of their master plan, trust me. They are 5-5 in the last 10 on a 2-game win streak. You see? Pure genius. 3-3 straight up and against the spread on the road. 5-4 in conference. 4-1 straight up in the last 5 games, though. So getting hot. Totals on under him for the last 3 on the road. And for ASU, 13-8, 11-10 against the spread. They're 5-5 in the last 10, coming off a loss to Washington. 8-2 straight up. And again, 5-5 against the spread at home. They're 4-5 in conference. They are 7-point favorites, which seems way too high for me. Total 141. How do you like this one?
Well, just looking at some of the actual total and the totals number here, and I think we've got some value with the team. Arizona State's been playing great defense. I know the last time out they had a bit of a high-scoring game, but previous to that, they hadn't let anybody score more than 70 points in 5 straight games. So, we got a team that's prepared to play defense and can play defense, and a USC. Sorry, but I was going to say USC.
Oh, shame on you. Wash your mouth out with soap and water. Gargle with gasoline.
UCLA, who's had problem scoring for most of the season. Lately, they have been lighting it up a little bit, but that's just a high point. Regressionary state right now. I'm expecting, and they haven't scored more than 69 points on the year anyway. This looks like a more of a grinding game. Cronin's a pretty smart guy, and he's going to devise something here, and I think it's going to be pretty physical.
So we're going to take the under on this one.
Okay. Yeah, I like you.
I'm just going to give you a prediction here, Smarty Pants, because we're just about out of time. This is what's going to happen. If there is a prop bet for this, I'll tell you what, UCLA are going to take the court. The Arizona Wildcat team are going to just look at them and realize they don't stand a chance, and they're just going to forfeit the game. UCLA win by forfeit. There we go. All right. Alex Smart, always a pleasure. We'll catch you soon. You can find Smarty Pants and all of his picks at picksandparlays.net. And while you're about it, we'll give you 15% off if you want to pick up a package from Alex Smart. Use promo code HOOP15. That's HOOP15 for 15% off at Picks and Parlays. Right, I'll be right back with the Duff Man and some NBA picks for you. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, Picks and Parlays, Sports Byline Broadcast Network. Also streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Would love to hear from you. All you have to do is fill out the comment section on any one of our social media pages, and we'll see it here in studio and put it up on the screen and bring you into the show. You can find me on Twitter, at Nick Geber. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, as opposed to just listening on the radio, you can see it in front of you. And if you can't, if you're listening, I'll tell you, it's at, that funny little squiggle thing, NickGeber. All right, lots to get to. We've done soccer. We've done college basketball. Hello, Fernando Ramirez writes us on Facebook. Hi, gentlemen, I'm doing fine, Fernando. I hope you are having a magnificent National Lame Duck Day. Speaking of lame ducks, Sean Duffy, unable to do the show today, but the Duff man himself, his brother Joe, not a lame duck today, coming on to do the show to talk a little NBA action. Joe, how are you?
I'm doing well. My brother Sean, in fact, he just texted me. He said that little squiggly thing is called an ampersand.
I know, but it doesn't. People think ampersand. He must be drooling on himself. I don't know what this is about. Okay.
Well, you usually do drool on yourself, so they wouldn't be inaccurate in that case.
Well, certainly. And I did just find out I'm not the oldest person. Well, the second oldest person at the Picks and Parlays, I'm happy to say. That is no longer me. Because the oldest member of Picks and Parlays team is, of course, our very own Abraham Lincoln, Chip Chirimbus, the chicken dinner man himself.
That's true. He might not even remember this. When I got my start back in 1988 on the score phones, he was working for Jim Feist, and we had some arrangement with Jim Feist where they would do some picks for us. So I did actually speak to him way back when I was getting my start, and so he was already in the business. That is true. He's one of the few in the industry that's been around longer than me.
Yeah, that's right. All right, well, let's talk about some NBA action, Duffy. Let's start with, did we get lines on the Lakers-Rockets game?
No. There's the only 3 games that we have online
we got those, but I did do a prep up on the Lakers-Rockets. Let's talk about this game a little bit. You give me your thoughts. Is it because, why is there no line on this? Is it because of the trade that just went down?
Yes.
That's what I thought. So
yes,
let's talk about this. So we'll talk about Rockets at Lakers. The Rockets 32-18, 24-26 against the spread. 6-4 in the last 10. They're on a 3-game win streak right now. 14-11 straight up and against the spread on the road. But here's the thing. Covington and Jordan Bell arrive in a 4-team trade for Clint Capella.
Yeah.
So they got 2 players coming in. I don't believe they will be. We're not sure if they're going to play this game or not. And we know what Russell Westbrook obviously is injured as well. Total's gone over in 5 of the last 7. And for the Lakers, 38-11, 26-22 and 1 against the spread. 6-4 in the last 10 on a 2-game win streak, coming off a 27-point demolition of the Spurs. They're 18-7 straight up, over in 10 of the last 12. And look, Joe, clearly we don't know what the line is on this, but you got a team like the Lakers that's playing really well this season, and yeah, the results in the last 10 have been not what they would want them to be, but they're coming off that massive demolition of a fairly. Al Ninos says Lakers -6. That seems really low to me. I would take that all day long, and you got the Rockets coming in. Who knows? Who knows who's playing? You got whole team chemistry issues. I mean, help me out here.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he got that line from that site that's been around for a long time. I wouldn't totally trust those lines that they post. Look, Houston, clearly they're going for even more offense. Capella was a great presence inside. On defense, Covington will give him a little bit of an outside shot. But it's been my basic philosophy. When you make a trade, you take a step back to take a couple steps forward. So obviously with some new talent in the lineup and the fact they're going to play a little bit more up-tempo, maybe Houston could be a little bit overvalued at first, but players will eventually gel. And anytime you do make a blockbuster trade, I know people have said it's the biggest trade, in 20 years, at least as far as the number of teams involved and whatnot. But yeah, my
four
general
teams,
rule
right?
of thumb,
Four teams, right?
Yes, 4 teams, correct.
Yeah.
But my general rule of thumb is after a big trade like that, kind of fade the team unless it was a team that was really struggling and then they needed a wake-up call, which really isn't necessarily the case with Houston, but I think it's more of a trade to bring them even more offense. So I would probably lean towards saying fade Houston and possibly maybe even some more value in the over, and especially on defense where you got to play some team defense. Yeah, I do think Houston's going to be even higher scoring.
All right, so some great advice there, Joe. If you're just looking for any team that's making trades, that's why I wanted to talk about this game, because obviously with the trade, lines are up in the air on this one. But there is a method to the madness. If the team's really struggling, the new players coming in might give a bounce. Part of that is, by the way, we see this in all sports, not just basketball. Part of that is the players that have been playing on that team know that there's extra pressure on them to perform, or they may find themselves going the way of the dodo as well. So it generally lifts the entire side. All right, let's move along. We have 3 with lines. Let's start, shall we? Those San Antonio Spurs against the Portland Trailblazers. 22-28 for the Spurs. They're 22-27-1 against the spread. They're 5-5 in the last 10 on a 2-game losing streak. Both losses, though, in LA on the road, one to the Lakers, one to the Clips. They're 8-16 straight up, 13-10-1 against the spread on the road. Their total has gone over in 4 of their last 5 road games. And the Trailblazers, 23-28. They're 6-4 in the last 10. They lost to the Nuggets. Their loss to the Nuggets snapped a little 4-game win streak they were on. That was at home, I think, that Nuggets loss. They're 13-11 straight up, 9-13-2 against the spread at home. Nasir Little is doubtful with an ankle injury. They've gone over in 8 of the last 9. And they are 3-point home favorites, 232 total points. My first blush at this, Joe, is I thought that 3 was somewhat of a small number.
Yeah, it probably is. Remember, the Spurs are in the middle. Well, they're actually at the beginning of their infamous rodeo trip that they have to take every year. It's a third of 8 straight road games for the Spurs. Portland, they're playing only their second game in 5 days, so one could certainly argue that the Trailblazers' legs should be a little bit fresher. The Blazers are playing, though, the first of back-to-back games. It's been according to my research, it's a little bit more effective if you look at the second game of back-to-back. I haven't found a huge advantage in the first game of a back-to-back, but if anyone has, inform me. I'll be more than happy to look at it and give you a credit if you have any angles that have to do with the first game of a back-to-back. What I really like here is, both of these teams are off of embarrassing games. When both teams are off of a loss of 25 or more, it goes over at an impressive 57.6% of the time. And, you could think maybe it makes sense. True. There's not a lot of games involved in this angle, but, both teams are going to come out a little bit ticked. They're probably going to play at an up tempo. So I can see why that angle does make sense. So I would lean towards the over here. Whether or not it's going to turn out to be a premium play, I don't know. The games that we're discussing, games that have lines right now, would probably be my third favorite, at least as of this recording.
By the way, regarding the Laker game, Al Ninos, my guest in the last segments, just sent us a social media message, said the line on DraftKings is -6 for the Lakers. So it's not -3, it's -6. It's maybe starting to feel a bit more like it, right?
Yeah, that is probably the case. And like I said, I don't know with DraftKings. I know they usually have a little bit higher juice than the Vegas and offshore books, and not sure what type of limit they have. It's probably a very, very low limit at this point. I don't think that any sports book is going to have their maximum limits until around noon Eastern time.
All right. Well, I tell you what. Let's talk about probably the most exciting of the games that we're talking about today. We'll leave New Orleans for the last game, but let's talk about the 76ers versus the Bucks, because both these teams, terrific records. The 76ers, 31-20, 21-29-1 against the spread. They're 6-4 in the last 10, but they're only 2-4 in the last 6. They're on a 3-game losing streak. They've definitely cooled off of late. They're 9-18 straight up, though. 8-18-1 against the spread on the road. So they're not a great road team. 6-14 straight up in the last 20 versus the Bucks. The Bucks, though, 43-7, 28-22 against the spread. They're 9-1 in the last 10. They're on a 2-game win streak. They beat the Pelicans by 12 points last outing. They're 23-3 straight up at home, 14-12 against the spread. George Hill has a hammy. He's not going to be playing. But the total's gone over in all of their last 6 against the 76ers. 9-point home favorites, 227 points total. And again, my first blush at this is not as big of a spread as I thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, look, the 76ers are often embarrassing, totally embarrassing effort. And kind of like what we talked about when I said when a team needs a wake-up call, whether it's from a trade, maybe a coach getting fired, usually there is a short-term bounce. And this also includes, I think when teams have team meetings or whatever. Well, Ben Simmons, who's usually been kind of a quiet guy and has maybe been accused of not always giving 100% during the regular season, after they were humiliated by Miami, he called the team soft. So I do think there is going to be a little bit of a rallying cry and wake-up call for the Sixers. Still, quality underdogs on the road are a fade of 771, 612, and 36. Now, you talked about there is no team, I don't think, in sports this year, the completed seasons in recent memory, that has been more of a Jekyll and Hyde team where the Sixers are dominant as heck at home. They're terrible on the road. But teams that have substantially better records at home than on the road are actually a good road bet and a bad home bet. Remember what I tell you, splits, as pronounced as the Sixers splits have been this year. They usually don't hold up. Now, the truth is that system I just told you, it would only be hitting 51.8%, but 10, 123, 959, and 44. The warning here is people usually like to ride those splits. So I'm not saying it's an auto fade here of the splits, but don't outsmart yourself and bet this game purely on the fact that the Sixers are so much better at home than on the road. But conversely, big favorites in same season revenge of a blowout loss are great plays. That would favor Milwaukee. Fading team 600 or better off a 30-point or more loss. And at least 3 straight losses, by the way. Big fade at 5-1 rarely happens, but it favors the Bucks. Sixers first of back-to-back. They're playing their 4th straight road game that's been spread over 8 days. Road underdogs off of 3 straight losses, though, are a decent play. That would favor the Sixers, but all in all, I just think the Bucks are such a better team. Maybe the Sixers in the first quarter, I think they're going to come fired up. Sixers might be a good first quarter bet. I usually don't bet quarters, but that sounds tempting. But I just think the Bucks are really going to wind up dominating this disorganized team, and I think it'll get real ugly in the fourth quarter. The Bucks minus the points.
All right, we've got 2 minutes. We're going to make this one quick. The Pelicans at Bulls. The Pelicans 20-31. They're 5-5 in the last 10. They're on a 2-game loser, coming off a loss to the Bucks. I believe that was a 12-point loss to the Bucks. The Bulls 19-33. They're 4-6 in the last 10. They're on a 3-game loser as well. They lost to the Pacers, Nets, and Raptors. Satoransky and Hutchinson have been upgraded to probable. Gafford is doubtful. By the way, Zion Williamson doubtful for the Pelicans. They're 3.5-point favorites on the road. Total 231.5. You got about a minute.
Okay, I have him listed as questionable. This does set up a great anti-splits angle. New Orleans 10-15 on the road. Chicago 11-15 straight up at home. That would say, why is New Orleans a road favorite? Well, an anti-splits angle that says to ride New Orleans, what the odds makers are telling you, 1,600, 1,353, and 57 for 54.2%, and 815, 663, and 31 if they won the previous meeting, which New Orleans did. So I will go with New Orleans in a really good anti-splits angle.
So you're going to go with New Orleans in an anti-split angle. So you're going to take the Pelicans at the -3.5, huh? And what about are we going to go under on this one?
I don't really have a big opinion on the total, but obviously pay closer attention to Zion Williamson's injury status. That's big. He's in his first 7 games. He's been tremendous, but I can see how they might want to rest him. They don't want to take chances. All
right, Duff Man, always a pleasure. Joe Duffy, love chatting to you. We'll speak to you later on in this week. You can find Joe and all of his. You can find Joe and all of his picks up at picksandparlays.net. Once you help yourself to his expert picks, and while you're about it, help yourself to 15% off. Healthy discount for you. Use promo code HOOP15, HOOP15. Since we're in the midst of basketball season, college and NBA right now, 15% off, picksandparlays.net. I'll be right back to wrap it up after this. Welcome back, Picks and Parlays. We've had a very busy show today. Lots of free picks for you, as we do every day, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network, iHeartRadio, TuneIn. We also stream live video on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And, of course, our website, the mothership of them all, picksandparlays.net. Head over there. In case you missed any of our picks, why don't I recap them for you right now? We started off with my friend Al Ninos. We did some Premier League picks. Everton, Crystal Palace at Goodison Park. Take the draw. Plus 276. Brighton, Watford at the Amex, take the draw, plus 245. And at Bramall Lane, Sheffield United will host Bournemouth. He said take Sheffield United, minus 135. Moving right along, college basketball with Smarty Pants. Alex Smart joined me. Cincinnati at Wichita State, take Cincinnati. The Bearcats, plus 3.5. UCLA, the greatest team ever, against Arizona State, take the under 141. Cal at Colorado, take Cal plus 17. And the USC Lori Loughlin's against Arizona, take USC plus 10. Then we had Joe Duffy. Talked a little NBA action. Pelicans at Bulls, take the Pelicans -4. 76ers at Bucks, take the Bucks -9. And the Spurs at the Blazers, we said take the over 232. Those were our free picks for you. If you missed any of them, if you missed any of this show, It's available for you on replay on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And of course, our podcast available immediately following the show at the Believe Podcast Network. You can find us there. Once again, we're with you Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We give away the best of free picks you're going to find anywhere. And of course, when you're ready to go to the next level, our expert picks are there from any one of our 35 star handicappers. And you can find them at picksandparlays.net. Help yourself to a 15% discount. Final time, Hoop15, HOOP15. I'll be back with you tomorrow. Picks and Parlays. Till then, bet, win, repeat.